What's up, everybody? Cat here, and I want to introduce you to my new channel, We Slay Dragons. We Slay Dragons is going to be a Battletech focused channel, which allows me to spend more time being creative, being hands-on. Kind of burned out on Dragon Quest about 2 years ago, and I discovered I really need a hobby that lets me be hands-on. And I looked at Wargaming. Wargaming seemed like a great choice, except there's one giant problem with Wargaming. The cost. The cost of Wargaming seems to be huge. Even recommended cheap options for Wargaming tend to be pretty expensive. Things like Kill Team for Warhammer 40k, that's still pretty darn expensive. Battletech, you can get started for virtually nothing. And that's what's in this shoebox. You can go straight to Catalyst Games' website, go to the download section for Battletech, and download or save the quick start rules for Alpha Strike. And that is exactly where I would recommend getting started. So everything in here I made from things that I already had available today. Now, if you don't have a printer, that's fine. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming you have access to some kind of electronic device that will allow you to read and save PDFs. And that covers it. These quick start rules right here, PDF, once you've read them and understand them, you really only need them for the occasional reference. So you don't have to have this printed up. There's a bunch of goodies that come in there. Now, you don't necessarily have to print up and make these buildings that come in the Quick Start PDF. I took the time to do it. I glued them to some cereal box cardboard and folded them up and glued them, and they look nice. But you could just easily cut out a square of paper and write 1-inch building on it or 2-inch building on it, and you would be set. So even still, you don't even need a printer. It helps. It helps a lot. The Quick Start PDF also comes with a bunch of cards, 32 cards for the Battletech game. Hi, Ursa. I went ahead and printed them out. Again, you don't have to print it out. You can write down these stats on a piece of paper and track it that way. Or a 3x5 card is another excellent choice. Motorcycle. I just had these extra hardtop card sleeves lying around from my Magic the Gathering days. So I printed these up, cut them up, and I threw them in here. And I like this because it means I can just use a dry erase marker on them to mark them all up instead of having to track things separately. So again, don't actually need a printer. Dice, this is something that I would definitely recommend having. Do you technically need dice? No. You could shave off the end of a pencil, which is 6-sided, and then write the numbers on there, and you can roll pencils to get a randomized result of 1 through 6 on each pencil, in which case you would need 2 pencils. You could also take 2 cups and put 6 slips of paper in either one of those cups, numbered 1 through 6, and that would give you a 2 to 12 die roll if you pick a number from each of those cups. So you don't technically need dice. If you don't have dice in your house, first of all, I'm shocked. Second of all, you can get like a package of like 8 to 10 of these at the dollar store. So if you buy anything, I would recommend dice if you don't already have it. Something else that would be useful to have is a tape measure. You might not have a tape measure. You might not even have a ruler. I would recommend one of those. But the PDF even comes with a printable measuring tape. I printed this out, glued it together, and then I also put some packing tape on both sides of it, kind of the poor man's laminator. And that's super helpful. You only need it to go up to 42 inches. Alpha Strike doesn't really need more than 42 inches unless you're using like extreme range rules, which we won't see on this channel for a while. I will go over how to play. I'll teach you how to play through the quick start rules, and we'll go over everything within this free PDF, and then we'll kind of graduate to additional terrain options, additional mech options, different ways you can play. Now this I did make. This was not included in the PDF. I just did this using some chipboard. You can use corrugated cardboard. You can just use a piece of paper so long as you have a ruler. And I measured out a 1-inch edge, a 6-inch edge, and a 2-inch edge. And I cut that out because those are really, really common measurements within the game. So having one of these, super quick and easy to make, and it makes measuring very fast. Now, in the PDF, I did also pull out the quick reference tables. I did take the time to laminate this. You don't have to. I'm just kind of turning this into my travel and teaching kit. So I wanted to make sure everything in here was nice and sturdy. That's why I also took some extra time on the buildings. But this is just a nice quick reference sheet. You'll use this a lot, which is part of why I decided to laminate it, because it's going to get a lot of use. Again, it's not something you need to have printed out, but I would recommend just going down here, and there's not too many entries. If you don't have a printer, grab a piece of paper and just copy this down out of the PDF. It'll save you a ton of time. Now, as far as the terrain templates that come in the PDF are concerned, again, it's something that you don't technically need to print out. You don't need a nice color printer. It would be nice if you have one. I don't have one. I have a really cheap Brother printer that I don't want to replace until it dies, and it refuses to die because Brother makes amazing products. They're not sponsored. But if you want a cheap printer that's never going to die, Brother. I got a little bit extra with these. I took the templates out of the PDF. I cut them out, and then I had some craft foam that I already had sitting around. Again, you don't have to do this. You can just cut out shapes and then write what kind of terrain it is on it. So this is my rough terrain, and I just cut out the craft foam that I had, and the craft foam I have is adhesive on one side. So I stuck it to some chipboard, made it nice and sturdy, so they don't move very far. They go great in my shoebox. Perfect for teaching games, and because they're nice and rigid, they're not going to bounce around too much. And I printed up all of the terrain that was in there, and then I copied it onto the craft foam and put it on the cardboard, and I have a pretty already decent set of terrain. If you're wondering how much time this took, it took my morning. And that's it. And that was with going the extra mile to make this terrain really fancy. And I swear the majority of the time was just related to fighting with foam and trying to cut chipboard. And then the other thing, mechs. So not only is Battletech a great game, Catalyst Game Labs and Tops, which is, I don't know if it's the parent corporation or if they just own the Battletech rights and they license it to Catalyst. I'm not sure. Even in all of the rule books, they say proxying is okay. So long as everybody at the table knows what the proxy represents for the game, you're fine. Now, the PDF does come with 24 printable mechs. Again, I put these on serial board and I glued them together so they're nice and sturdy. You don't have to do this. If you don't have a printer, you can just cut out strips of 5-inch by 1-inch strips of paper, and then you can just write what it is and which side is the front and which side is the back. You fold it in half, and then at the bottom, you take a 1/2 inch on either side, fold it together, and then you have a nice little mech standee. And this is a Marauder, and all you would have to do is just write Marauder front and then Marauder back on the back of it. And this is a perfectly serviceable mech. It works just as well as a miniature. It falls over a little bit easier, but, you know, who cares? The most important thing about playing a war game is that you actually get to play the war game. And this is a wonderful way to start. I was able to knock all of this out this morning, even going the extra mile. Put together 24 mechs, which is enough for 2 companies. That is enough for 2 players to get together and play a company-on-company game, which is huge. The amount of time it takes to paint 12 mechs, much less 24, is pretty significant. And this came together really, really fast. Again, this was just a Sunday morning for me. I wanted to do something crafting related, and this kind of scratches that hobby itch. And I think that that's one of the most important parts about the wargaming hobby, is that it's a hobby. You look at a lot of other games and you don't call it a hobby. You're like, oh, I'm a big first-person shooter gamer, or I'm really into RTS. None of those are hobbies because you're not doing a lot of creating. And I think that, and I'm fairly new to wargaming, maybe 2 years, Battletech a little over a year. It took me a bit to find it. I wish I'd found it first because, oh my gosh, so cheap. Even if you buy this stuff, it's way cheaper than other war games. But wargaming has its roots in a lot of do-it-yourself stuff. It's pretty common. If you're new to wargaming, a common thing that you'll see on YouTube is just making terrain or doing a lot of painting. There's a lot of fantastic painting videos out there. I'm probably not going to do any painting videos. There's much better teachers out there than me. But what I can do is I can kind of pull back all the glamour of it and be like, you don't need all this stuff. Can you spend a bunch of money getting the supplies you need to make some really nice looking terrain and fight with resin and foam cutters and build up a collection of special tools? Yes, you absolutely can. And part of the joy of wargaming is creating that spectacle and having a nice looking board. And that's a lot of fun too. But for trying out the hobby, or if you just don't have any money, it's cheap. It can be insanely cheap. You don't have to play Warhammer. You don't have to get into historicals. There are other options out there aside from Battletech that are insanely cheap / free to start. One Page Rules is another good example. Battletech, to me, just it also has the lore and the flavor to it that I really, really enjoy. If you're not familiar with it, it's giant robots punching each other and shooting each other with giant like lightning guns and things, and it's wonderful, and that's what I really want. But yeah, I just wanted this first video to say, hey, look at what you can do in a day with a black and white printer, and you don't even need this much. Get everything set up for yourself, and we'll cover the basic rules next time and maybe even play a game. So until next time, I'm Steven, and welcome to We Slay Dragons.